Welcome to another CSD Fantasy YouTube video. Today we'll be looking at the Miami Dolphins 2017 projections. All projections are in standard scoring, and if you like the video, please leave a like, it really helps the channel. Now, let's dig in. In case you have not watched any previous of my videos, I start off by looking at the team's opportunity pool. The opportunity pool derives from the 2017 opponents' play trend from the last 2 years and the Dolphins' own trends from the last 3 years. These two stats combine and will later on be divided up amongst the players. As you can see from the numbers, the passing pool could have been a lot bigger if the Dolphins had the ball more often. You can see that 582 passes comes from the opponents and 404 runs. Looking at their own trends, we're going to see a significant decrease in those numbers, with 548 passes and 383 runs. So for the 2017 season, the Dolphins will pass the ball 565 times and run it 393. That's a pretty small pool and will focus mostly on the passing game. For the market share, I'm doing like the Wednesday's post this week to showcase everything. Ajayi still doesn't crack the 60% carry mark. Compare that to Bell with 70% and David Johnson with 65%. For the receivers, Landry will see 25% of all targets, which is great. When it comes to Ryan Tannehill, this will be a year of many dropbacks, but not what we want. People want him to be a fantasy stud, but it won't happen this year either. But as always, I assume 16 games and full health for all projections. From the opportunity pool and market share, we get 565 dropbacks with 43 runs and 49 sacks. His passing trends heavily favor short passes to right side. The short left is his most accurate zone, while the deep right is his least. These numbers play a huge part in how I arrive at the final projections for all the pass catchers. All in all, my projections for Tannehill is 106 points from touchdowns, 153 from his passing game, and 14.1 from his rushing. This gives him a total of 249.4 fantasy points over the year. I feel like Ajayi needs a nickname. I've given this a lot of thought and I have arrived at the Blue Jay. Tell me what you think about that nickname in the comments below. Ajayi sees a lot of change in his yards per carry depending on what down he plays, so if you believe he will have a hard time against a team on first down, it might impact how you feel about that game. The same can't be said for how he produces in different times in the game. With how well he runs early on, he just punishes teams later on. From the opportunity pool and market share, we get 229 carries, 49 targets, and 33 receptions. That's 50 carries and 40 targets less than Le'Veon Bell. Scoring 109 fantasy points from his rushing, 25 points from his receiving, and 36 points from touchdowns. This is much lower than I was expecting over an entire season. Looking at the three main receivers and the number one tight end, we first have Jarvis Landry. With 142 targets and 95 receptions, he will lead the team in targets. From those receptions and targets, he will gain 1,014.3 yards and score 4 touchdowns. This will land him a total of 125.4 fantasy points over the season, and he will compete against other receivers like Alshon Jeffrey while being behind Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. DeVante Parker won't reach the 100 target mark, but will have more than 50 receptions, so he can be an option in PPR. He will gain his fantasy points mostly from the yards with 74.6 and 24 points from touchdowns. Parker will be surrounded by the end of the season by players like Crowder, Shepard, Sanu, and Randall Cobb. Kenny Stills might be an even better option for PPR, seeing as his overall ADP is over 60 spots later than DeVante Parker, but only 11 receptions behind. He will also most likely score more touchdowns, with 5 of them compared to Parker's 4. He will compete with players in the range of Randall Cobb and Jordan Matthews. With Julius Thomas back with Gase, he can be someone to draft or at least stream from week to week. From the market share, we'll see 63 targets and catch 39 of those. His yards from the workload is decent, and 6 touchdowns is not too bad. With 73.8 total fantasy points, he's behind players like Zach Ertz, while outscoring Jesse James with over 10 fantasy points. To round out this video, let's do as we always do and look at the projections in the light of last year. Tannehill would have finished 18th if he stayed healthy. I'm not too high on him this year, but I can see myself picking him in a 2 QB league. I previously said I don't think Ajayi finishes top 10, a top 15 finish is more than okay. Jarvis Landry is not a number 1 receiver in fantasy, maybe not even a number 2. Seeing how close they are in scoring, but the huge difference ADP, I might just draft Kenny Stills and hope he can get a bigger role later on. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, it really helps out a lot. Head over to csdfantasy.com for more charts and numbers, and as always, the spreadsheets are dark and full of terror.